Lord have mercy.
Yeah, say something. Ow.
I was waiting to see what you was gonna do.
Ow.
How you was gonna make it work. Good morning, what's happening, family? Welcome to the concert. It is Michelle Bryant here at WNOV 860 AM 106.5 FM. You're listening to Say Something Real. Real talk, the bros in the studios. I'm so glad Romel is back. He can get y'all some services.
Wow.
He can get y'all connected to some professionals who can help y'all, who can look out, who can, come on now. Get everybody right for the show.
Yeah. Hey.
Good morning, Mr. 300 Strong. How you doing?
Well, I figured I'll start back.
Oh, hold on. Diva.
Yes, ma'am.
Is you moving the camera when other people talk? I looked at the video yesterday. The whole time Jermaine was talking, the camera stayed on me.
Yeah,
and I'm not talking. I'm not
he be
doing
crying.
it.
The man don't put me on camera.
Hey, man. That's wait.
Oh, you don't want to be on
No,
camera?
that ain't true. Debo be having me on camera when I ain't doing nothing. I be playing with my eyelids. Debo got me on camera. Like, well, no, nigga, why you got me on camera?
What is these? We need better staff.
Why am I on camera, man? I'm playing with my eyelids.
I'm no cameraman,
We need like real professionals.
Yeah, so I got to
I
go
was
tell.
just sitting there. You was talking for a long time.
That's because he talks for a long time.
And and the camera just on me, and I'm like,
see, yeah.
And I don't know the camera's on me.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it switches to you.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
We need a production meeting up in here. We need.
I be telling this cat, like, I be playing my eyelids, twiddling my fingers, and I'm on camera like.
We need a production meeting.
Why am I on camera? I ain't doing nothing.
We need a production meeting. I'm sick of Debo.
Yeah.
What's up?
Now we can say hi to me.
Okay. Hi.
Thank you.
Wait.
Thank you.
Sadiq. Hey.
Getting the right key. Key.
I know.
You gonna do it in the right key now. Well, hello there, respectfully, Michelle. I would like to say that it's a beautiful morning.
Oh,
it is really a beautiful
rain
morning.
today.
Do it?
Yeah.
Well, we ain't gonna worry about the day.
Early.
We're gonna talk about the morning. The morning is a beautiful morning. The sun is shining. I'm feeling real.
The light still gonna get turned off, whether you want to talk about it or not. We ain't gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the lights is on right now.
Yeah.
We energies ain't hit us yet.
Yeah,
the lights is on right now.
I figured if we energies is listening, I might as well put this out here too. Is there any way that you can give a brother a discount? Because I'm paying like $1,000 every month trying to get this thing down.
What $1,000? What you talking about?
And we energies.
Who paid $1,000 a month?
He's a prevaricator.
Well, what I'm gonna do is, man, I'm gonna put a bicycle outside my house with some jumper cables. Hook it up to the crib and get somebody to ride the bike all night.
Doing black people nonsense.
That's hood history.
Got on shorts when it's 30 degrees outside. Want to walk around the house in flip flops and shorts. And then turn the fan on.
Yeah, like, I do have the fan on though.
So
because you got to balance out.
Yeah, you got to, as opposed to just putting it on the right setting.
It don't never balance out right.
Nonsense.
No,
always
history.
Hood nonsense. Good morning. Good morning, Debo. How you doing this morning?
I'm good, Michelle. How about yourself?
I'm good.
And the camera's still on Jermaine.
See, I ain't doing nothing but playing with paper.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's all you ever doing over there, playing with paper, writing stuff down.
Jesus.
I am good this morning, Michelle. I actually have the camera on me right now, so that's unusual. I usually don't do that, but we're good this morning. Glad to be in the land of the living. Certainly, considering the alternative, I'll take that. And I did note that we're similarly dressed this morning: black hat, blue jogging, Nike.
Are y'all twinning?
Not similar.
Yeah, going on.
Are y'all twinning right now? Okay.
Not similar
not
at
twinning.
all.
She'd have to look a lot better to look like me.
Oh, you hear what he said?
I'm not listening.
Okay.
But in any case, good morning to you, Michelle, and to the listening audience. And I did note that you spoke to Solis this morning, so it's always good to hear from her.
Yes. All right. Well, it is quite the day. So much to cover. Where do I start?
Man.
You know what? Just for a second, I'm gonna start local. But I'm gonna jump back and forth between local stuff, national stuff. And I'm gonna start here because I know we had a caller who had reached out after we had saw the fires that took 5 lives, and we became more educated as a community about the whole sprinkler system situation and buildings built after a certain or before a certain year. I think that was 74 or something like that. That there were laws on the books that prohibited local municipalities or cities from requiring building owners to put sprinkler systems in. So there was a meeting down at, excuse me, I mean to smack my lips, meeting down at the Common Council, in which a resolution or bill, if you will, was introduced by Alderman Bauman that sought to address this whole piece regarding the sprinkler system. And the discussion centered around, the fact that, number one, what could the city really do? Because again, under Scott Walker, they put and passed legislation that said no city or local municipality could have a requirement that was stricter than what the state required of these apartment owners, multiple unit dwellings, building owners, that the cities didn't have authority to put in anything any more restrictive than the state. And under the state's Walker's leadership, Republican leadership, a lot of legislators who were land owners in terms of, apartment owners, rental unit owners, they voted against having stricter laws about sprinkler systems because it impacted a lot of the people who was voting on it. So, that's that thing that's kind of when you should recuse yourself from a vote because you have a vested interest in the outcome. Robin Voss is a landlord, and so you all, and to be fair, Lena Taylor, a landlord, but the Democrats and the Republicans split heavily on if those sprinkler systems should be required in these older housing stocks. Bauman talked about the possibility of having something we said here on the show, clause that says that if you live in one of these buildings or if you own one of these buildings with no sprinkler system, that when people are leasing those buildings from or those apartments from you, they have to be told. So just so you know, so everybody on the same page, you moving into a unit on the 4th floor, and if this building catch on fire, there are no sprinkler systems in this building. Some people will make a different housing decision. Other people may be so desperate they may take their chances, but at least people have been told. Because right now, most people probably assume when they move into a apartment complex, regardless of when it was built, that there is something in place to either help prevent the fires or to contain and control these fires. So people just take it for granted.
I know they're talking about some retrofitting stuff that they potentially will be able to do in any unit. It may not be.
But again, it's what they can mandate, because what they are talking about is ways that they can pressure the landlord to do this, because legally, in terms of creating a law for the city of Milwaukee, they can only go so far. So they can't mandate anybody do anything.
But
they
if
can only
if my safety is in question,
doesn't matter. They can't go above, they can't exceed in requirements what the state legislature has put in place.
Really?
So then
that's what I'm trying to tell y'all.
That's where we need to start then.
But why is it like that though?
Because I'm just telling you, you have Republicans who always like to consider themselves business friendly, They are the ones that's looking out for business. And if you look out for business, the economy does well. So they are always, that's what half of this budget stuff is right now that we dealing with in Congress. You looking out for big business and the wealthiest people. So under Scott Walker's leadership, Republicans looking out for these these building contractors, people who own all these properties, and people balanced it and said, what would it cost to put in sprinklers versus what would it cost for human life?
Wow.
We gonna gamble.
Sacrifice.
And even in the committee meeting on yesterday, it came up. DeAndre Jackson, the alderman, he said, well, it's going to cost businesses a lot of money. Somebody else in the room said, basically paraphrasing, yeah, but we talking about life here.
Life, yeah.
And then somebody else, offered testimony that said, we told them even back then when they were looking at these because the stricter rules, the lax rules have been in place since about 12 years. And one of the things that they said back then is it costs about $4 a square footage. So what it would cost you to put carpet in a unit is what it would cost you to retrofit these buildings with sprinkler systems. What it would cost you to put in carpet. And so, so for people that want to holler about money, but you got 5 people that are dead, countless others injured. And you would think that the property owner themselves would care about protecting their investment.
So
that's what you would think.
Yeah, it's just listening to you talk about this, just make me think that you got people that just see green and they don't see life, they don't have integrity, they just see money and they want the money from the tenants. So you have a building that if something happened, it's a chance that you can lose lives. And
that's what you would think.
Huh? I'm sorry. I'm
sorry. I said that was me again.
Yeah, we hear it.
2 of me's. No, so it's just the fact of whatever it costs for a sprinkler system. If it's 100,000, 200,000, it's worth putting that in because lives are worth more than whatever it would cost for you to put a sprinkler system in the building.
So move in here at your own risk.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what they basically are saying.
Pretty much,
yeah. And then it even came out yesterday because I had talked about that they said buildings built before 1974 didn't have to have the sprinkler system, and that the Highlands courts that caught on fire, it was built in 1968. But Bauman also brought up the fact that and the act that was put into place was Act 270 that Governor Walker signed into place 12 years ago. And the way I like that they described it, the law stripped Milwaukee and other local governments of the ability to adopt municipal ordinances that are more restrictive than the state law. And this is what the city attorney, Evan Goyke, said. And it's ironic because Evan Goyke lives right behind the building that caught on fire.
Wow.
He said he and his 4-year-old son were standing in the backyard watching the whole thing burn up. Wow. And but the bill, but the laws that we have in place, evidently, when we passed the law, there was a gap between enforcement. And so there are still a number of buildings that we are not even registering for us that got hit in this or built in this sweet spot in which the laws had changed, but they hadn't gone into effect yet. So anyway, they anticipate, there are thousands of families, probably 30 to 50,000 Milwaukee residents who live in apartments without sprinkler systems. So
now this Ben Clinton on the chat, he just simply stated, but isn't a sprinkler system an investment to help protect your investment?
Yeah. Exactly what I said. Yeah. You would think that I would be trying to protect that investment. But we know that there are some people who own some of these buildings and these properties. They call them slumlords, call them whatever you want to. They do no investment in those properties. It is literally a cash cow. Yeah, I'm just trying to take everything out of it run it down in the ground, and when it no longer serves my purpose, I discard it, get rid of it. But and charging premium rents along the way.
Right.
That's the other part.
Right.
Like
Michelle.
you got people paying premium rent to stay in these places.
And it ain't even safe like that.
Not even safe.
Happiness Donuts said, shame on District 7 Alderman Jackson for that comment about costing businesses money versus standing up for the human lives.
Wow.
And yeah, and he may have said more, but that's what the paper quoted, and I will read it exactly. At the committee meeting, Alderman DeAndre Jackson also raised concerns about the price of sprinklers. Quote, "This is an expensive proposition," Jackson said. And that's when the
and
chief,
that's my alderman.
The fire chief responded that the sprinklers cost roughly as much as putting in a new carpet in each unit. And I'm just trying to see if there was anything. So, it's one of those things you want to keep your eye on. This is a great time for people to be able to call elected officials to say, hey, look, if you weren't planning on supporting this, I want you to, or if you're against it, tell them that too.
I would wonder though, Michelle, because BAP says insurance claims probably pay off more, but wouldn't you think that it would be difficult to get insurance on those buildings because you don't have certain safety measures in place?
Well, the insurance industry may also be responsive to the fact that these are state laws that don't mandate you have certain things. So I don't know how punitive they can actually be. I mean, they get to set obviously their own, standards. So it would be in the insurance company's best interest to say you need to have sprinklers before we insure. Just like I said, but everybody, it's a game. Unfortunately, it's a real game. Because if enough of these businesses don't get policies, it's a game, man.
But you know what? This situation right here is an example of why it's important to have sprinklers in your building. It's unfortunate these 5 people had to lose their life for these people to even have to come to the table and have a conversation about common sense. Because if you have a big venue, if a fire starts, you will want to at least save at least portions of the venue. So to save that, you would have to have some type of sprinkler system, some type of water system that would come on in case of a fire. And I just don't understand why this guy would sit here and say how much it would cost to save lives. It don't make sense to me.
So a couple of things. Some folks are texting me, caller, I'll be right there. Somebody said, good morning. It is rumored that the owner of the building had a sprinkler system in her unit. I don't know if this is factual, but it came from a reliable source. Somebody else said, the crazy part, the owner also lived in the building, so you would think he or she would have gotten the sprinklers, like you live there. Another person tapped in, and they are an owner of properties, and they said city could incentivize but not require until they get to the state to change it, which is what the city it sounded more punitive than incentives though. But they also said it's way more than carpet. It was $10,000 for a property that they had, and that was, they said, like 20 years ago.
So you couldn't
maybe the
go
prices come down in those years. I don't know.
You couldn't go to a bank or something like that and get a loan versus, and just kind of pay that off over time.
I mean, like anything else, it's expensive, I'm sure, but I just would tell people it's the cost of doing business. Right. Because if somebody dies, and then it's a thing too, and I just realized what I said was about to be wrong. Because I was gonna say, because if somebody dies in your building, you potentially can be sued. But if you only did what the state law required, then technically you really can't.
Yeah.
Well, because the state gave you cover.
So
the state gave you cover. If somebody died in your property.
So who's responsible?
At this point, you as the tenant are responsible for knowing if you live in a building that got a sprinkler system and what the plan is in the event of a fire.
So let me ask you this. So out of your years of coming up from, college and to your adulthood and renting and things like that, how many of you guys think Now, I've never lived in a well, I lived in an apartment building one time, so I got to take that back. But and that was when I was about 18, 19 years old. But when I moved into the apartment building, I didn't even think to look for the sprinklers. I didn't even
Nobody's
think
gonna.
to
Most people not
yeah,
gonna do that.
because you just looking for somewhere to put your stuff to live.
Right.
And
Yeah, when you particularly when you're young and entering the housing market,
but even
I just
older,
need some place
like
to
you don't
stay.
even think
Older,
like you don't even
you
think
not
to look
you
for
just
sprinkler
taking for
system.
granted that these
Yeah.
things are in place.
Yeah.
You know, like because in some places, you know, like I always think about when I go to the hotel, you can see the sprinkler.
Yeah. But you don't think
anything
a fire
about
gonna
it,
break out.
right? But you actually see that
Yeah.
sprinkler in that hotel room.
Yeah.
Let me get this caller. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello.
Hey, Sister Deborah Novi, good morning. This is Ray Mackis.
What up, Ray?
Mac.
Good morning.
I just want to say something. You know, I just say good morning to the staff, Devo, all y'all. I just want to make a comment to, say something to Meech.
Uh-oh.
You used to be my homie. Now you act like you don't know me. You shouldn't be on the radio for one thing. You way up in Mars outer space. You, Richard Simmons, and Luke Richards should have a show together. Because all y'all, yeah. You don't know, you try to diss the Senate. Why do you, come on, man, you shouldn't be on the radio, man, they should get rid of you. You got 2 gold teeth in your mouth. One say 14 karat gold. The other say, do not believe that. You was not made for the radio. You used to be my homie, but you not. Hey man, come on, man. You should get SSI, silly sucker income, man. You do not know what you keep talking about, man. Come on, man. You should let me be your payee. I would take you down to the Social Security building and sign you up. Hey, good. Hey,
Right.
it's Ray Marcus, and I'm out.
Thank you.
Wow.
What did he say SSI stand for?
Silly sucker income.
So that cat
Okay, I gotta take a break.
is hilarious.
That's a good place to take a break.
Richard Simmons, aka Meech, Ray Mackus.
Ray Marcus. That's hilarious.
Okay.
Now this Curly Q says, I just never heard an owner of a large apartment building living in it. I find that interesting.
Well, yeah, it was an older lady.
It was an older lady. Yeah, it's probably the only thing she owned.
Mm.
You know, and just lived in her own building. Yeah, I could see it. It's not.
Yeah, but if she had a sprinkler system and nobody else did.
I mean, that's kind of probably a hard thing to do too. But again, it don't matter if I protect my apartment. I'm losing my investment if the rest of the building burned down.
But you can still die in the building. You just die in your apartment.
It's just
No, she more likely she probably was on the first floor.
Yeah, but if you got a sprinkler system and it come on, I mean, I'm just saying, like, why just have it in your apartment and the building?
If it's important enough for you to have, it's important enough for everybody else.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But I just have a hard time believing she had one and didn't put it in the rest of the
silly sucker income.
All right, y'all. We'll be right back.
AURN News. I'm Jamie Jackson. A new wealth report is revealing just how rich America is and where the money is growing fastest.
got all my sisters with me.
Now, back to Say Something Real with your host, Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. So Jermaine raised a question during the break. I think it was during the break. Does the city own any properties that could fall into this category? And I went to go look it up. And I guess the city does not own a large number of like rental properties directly. From what I'm reading, they try to get rid of them as quickly as they get them in their possession. But folks were like, well, aren't those some city-owned apartment buildings, you know, here in the city? And I'm like, I don't know exactly what the city owns. So maybe we can get Alderman Stamper to like help us out. I'll call him and see if we can get some information, because then the question becomes, does the city have any properties that they own that don't have sprinkler systems in them and people are renting there? But
And
the
you're
city will
taking that
probably
same
tell
risk.
you, huh?
And you still have that same risk then.
Yeah. So, but the city probably telling you, yeah, but we only holding it for a minute. We trying to get it off. So this is not a long-term investment for us. So we
So
not
who
going.
owns like a West Lawn or a
So that some of that's federal housing
Mhm.
that can be managed by like local entities, but that's federal. Like that's HUD federal housing.
So what about the hotels that was built before the time that
Same
you're
thing.
supposed to have sprinklers?
Same thing.
So if something happened in a hotel, like you stand in a hotel that don't have a sprinkler and a fire happened, you so happen to lose your life or something happened to you, who's responsible for that?
Again, I think you're going to get a degree of protection based on the fact that state law only requires you to have whatever the bare minimum is.
So can you sue
a fire
the
So you
state?
extinguisher?
probably can't sue them because you were in compliance with local laws and ordinances about what you had to have.
But then isn't there a certain level of disclosure that must be?
Right now, that's what we said when we talked about it initially. That's what Bauman has just said. At the very least, you should have to disclose to people you are about to stay in a building, a facility, a room, Airbnb, whatever, that does not have a sprinkler system. Like I was just in an Airbnb last week, and I'm thinking about what year that house was built in. There ain't no sprinkler system in there.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, you renting it out for events and stuff, but there ain't no sprinkler system in there. I'm assuming. I don't know. But as old as it was, it may not be. I stayed at an Airbnb in Philadelphia. I'm like, I know it wasn't none of that. That building, that house was old as all get out. That was the whole charm of it. You were staying in an old facility.
I think anything used commercially should have to have it.
Let's go to the phone line. Let's get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, Angela, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm blessed. Good morning, Mr. Debo.
Good morning.
Hey, Ryder, how you doing?
Good morning there, Miss Angela. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to hear your voice this morning. It's such a pleasurable voice to hear.
Woo, woo.
Jeez. And you woo, woo, woo.
So everything's going all right for you?
Yes, ma'am. Everything is great.
That's great.
Hey,
That's great.
Hey.
I'm still waiting on that lunch date, but Michelle, back to you.
Yeah, please get back to the show.
I was like,
Hey,
okay.
she picked up her coffee.
You do
and was
realize
like,
we here, right?
I got time today.
Yes, ma'am. What you need?
Okay, so I need for you to look in again with the MTM situation that's going on, because I have like sciatic nerve pain in my back, and I was supposed to go get my shots today. So they had the wrong address to take me to my anger management. today, which was not supposed to be today. That's a virtual thing. So how they mixed up the addresses is beyond me.
They don't want to piss you off. They
So-
should be trying to work with you.
That's for sure.
Well, I'm not going there with them, so I'll just let it be handled the right way because I'm trying to be a whole different individual by getting myself and my blood pressure up because,
Right.
that's just not happening today.
Did you warn them? That
Oh, they know. Trust me.
okay.
Okay, so MTM had the wrong address for your appointment today,
Yes, ma'am.
and so because of that, then that means when you say nope, y'all got the wrong address, they won't take you to the new address because they've already mapped out the schedule. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
and
now I'm back. I just got off the cab. He pulled over, called them, and they said, well, there's nothing. So they canceled it. You have every right to cancel it because that's not where I'm supposed to be going.
Oh, but dang, if it's a cab versus a bus, because I'm thinking like the transit buses that are picking other people up and moving around. Okay. I talked to the county executive. I'll talk to his chief of staff. That's who I have been told to reach out to regarding MTM. So I can, but this is my thing. How did they get the wrong address?
I don't know because I talked to the lady yesterday and she had the correct address of me going on South 20th. As a matter of fact, no, it was St. Luke's I was supposed to be going to. Let me correct that. I was supposed to be going to St. Luke's to get my shots today. So how they got my anger management address mixed up with St. Luke's is beyond me. Because I talked to the lady yesterday because I was thinking my appointment was yesterday, but it was today for my shots. So I don't know. It wasn't my mistake because I know where I was supposed to be at this morning.
All right. I'll do what I can just to put that out there as well. That this is another challenge. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so very much, and you all have a blessed day.
Yes,
you stay
ma'am.
calm,
You too.
Angela. Stay calm. Don't let them get you riled up.
Thank you, Angela.
I'm not Mr. Devo.
All right,
I am
darling.
not.
Okay. Be
Take
good.
care. Talk to you later, Angela. Man,
Okay, bye, Miss Michelle.
Bye.
Bye.
Why you always starting me?
See, Debo.
Oh my God, you so irritating.
Debo is the cat that carried the gasoline.
He always.
No,
always
I didn't want her to
start.
get riled up because she already got to go to anger management.
Cause as soon as
but
she
you was
said
about
it,
to
I
round
was
her
like,
up.
ooh.
You was about to get her riled up
Yeah,
again.
he always starting. He get on my nerve.
That's my girl. Y'all don't tell me how to talk to Angela.
We telling you what to do for us.
Say that again, Debo. What you say?
Hey, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that.
Hey, he threw it to me, boy. I was gonna get him back.
Tell me again what you say.
Say that again, brother.
All right, look. I need to do a for full disclosure kind of moment. Not my disclosure.
Yeah.
But
Michelle, let me just throw this at you right quick. Robert Mann just made a comment. He said insurance companies cannot insure a house if the roof is too old or even lesser. They'll find ways that we can't cover that. Okay, so the coverage they give based on the condition. So they should be able to do that with sprinkler systems.
But roofing on houses is not necessarily and in total governed by state ordinance.
Sure it is.
I said not in total.
Okay, because you can have too many layers and they'll tell you got to do a complete tear off.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
who tells you that?
The city, the state.
But
You can only have 3 layers.
Hey, hold on.
Now I missed my anger management class too.
But is that the state law?
Somebody put it in place.
That's right now you're quoting a city ordinance.
Well, where does the city ordinance come from?
Does the state say you have to have 3 layers or less? Because again, if we're saying that the city and local municipality law cannot trump state law, and state law says you don't have to have X, Y, and Z, it's 2 different conversations.
So that means
okay. I mean, I hear it, but it's still.
I'm just saying.
So for those homeowners that if you lose your insurance because you have the 3 layers, can't you sue if that's not the state.
I don't know. We could be opening up a can of worms. I don't
I
know.
mean, because you get to ask the question: is that state law or is it
Yeah,
a
because the
municipal
state
law?
law trumps the city ordinance, don't it?
It would, in a lot of cases,
Yeah,
it could.
well, I don't know. I mean, it was just a comment here, and I know that to be true. That you
No,
know,
I mean, but one of the things also, let's just be clear, we've seen insurance companies, and now people are beginning to wonder if there's some degree of collusion, because initially it was about home safety, wear and tear, with those 3 different layers of roofs. But now we're seeing all these organizations going in and targeting particularly Black neighborhoods. I talked about this on my show, not, maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, but targeting Black homeowners, because a lot of Black homeowners live in the city. These houses are close to downtown. Most of these houses tend to be bigger, more spacious homes, and people want these properties.
mm-hmm.
Y'all get notices every other day. Will you say we pay cash? We want to buy your house.
Chinese lady called me the other day.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
You want to sell your home?
And so then now you got insurance companies talking about we flew a drone over the area and your roof don't look good, and we canceling your insurance if you can't get this roof straight in 30 days. And people believe that there's some degree of collusion happening between the insurance industry and some of these people that are out here trying to buy up these homes. And most of these people can't afford to get that roof fixed right away.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to have that house and not have that house be insured. That is the most expensive thing most people own. If I can no longer afford to insure this house, these people, what you getting ready to do? We'll pay cash for your house in any condition. They're going to turn around and sell that house. Most of the time, losing the equity and the real money they got tied up in that house in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of it is a game, and it's being ran on us. So everything is not necessarily about what's, safety. Some of it is about, quite frankly, just scamming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Got a caller. Let me get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning.
Devo, and all of. I think one of the things I remember, I became a building inspector right out of college, and I remember in the late 70s, that's when they ordered all new construction. Remember, all new construction had to have those smoke detectors wired to low voltage.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, or if it was built before that, you had to put up fire alarms. But you could put the ones up with the batteries. That's why you find in all the older homes, the ones with the batteries. But if you're in a newer house, they required it to be hooked up to the power. So it was always on and it always would be available. So there are some creative things that they might be able to do. Like for sprinklers, the one thing about sprinklers, you've got to start with one central system, and it has to go through you got to put holes through all of the floors, all of the walls, because you got to bring it up from the basement up. And so unless you come up with some way to do it within each unit, create a sprinkler system where the water could come from the existing water lines that are in that room. I mean, that's some of the things I suggested, that there's ways to modernize the system. Now, one of the things I found out about the state is that a number of state legislative people own multifamily units before that are built, and they don't want the law happen because it's going to cost them money.
Right.
So again, money is winning out over the lives of people, and so they don't want to do it. And so, but I know that there's got to be multiple ways that they could find a way to get around it. But the city can enact things, but like you said, the state trumps it, and the state won't allow them to require sprinklers. The other thing I thought the city could do, the city could come up with a grant program, something that for people who own those buildings and to get bids so they could figure out how to adapt it to an existing building.
Well, I know Alderwoman Coggs referenced, trying to go after grant funding, but she said, the city trying to work with the state to see if a grant program could be created, because the city gonna tell you we already strapped. So we'd have to find the money to even be able to offer such a program. ourselves. So yeah,
But
talking
I
about
remember,
tapping the state.
I remember
The
when
state
they
not gonna do that.
when they talked about block grant money for this, and we'll help you your
block
approach and
grant
your
money is federal
facade.
money.
You know, but for your facade or for the approach of your building or whatever, the city was giving this money to these different businesses. I find this a little more important.
Yeah, I think it's
Quite a
just
bit
how
more.
creative you want to be, and how much you want to push the system to create that a safety system for all those who occupy buildings and homes. But you're right. The problem is that the state is the Trump of it all. Excuse the expression. But they have the right to deny that you could do that and create laws, internal laws. But create a law in the city and let the state sue you. There's all kind. Just
do it and ask for forgiveness later.
Yeah, just defy. Just be defiant and say, we think in the city of Milwaukee, this is so important for our residents that we need to have something done. And here are all the buildings that don't have sprinkler systems, and we're going to figure out a new way to install them. Because if you look at the code, there's a national system. There's a way that they want you to do it. To install the sprinklers, there's all kind of methods and methodologies. And so, which one is the cheapest? Which one is the easiest to do?
So, is there a way that, as a citizen, that you can get a lawyer and sue the state for this?
You could challenge
You
the
can
state
always
to
sue.
say, life safety. Does life safety trump the fact that you gotta spend this extra money? I think life safety is more important.
Yeah,
That's what we think.
yeah. Somebody should sue. The
All
state,
right, thank
man.
you, Tyrone. I appreciate the call, bro. It's good to hear your voice.
Michelle,
welcome.
did you hear Ron Johnson?
What talking about the
Lead.
bill,
The lead.
the lead?
Yeah.
What he say?
He said he don't think the federal government should help the city of Milwaukee public schools with their lead problem. We've known
Really?
about it for a long time. Fix it. It's our problem.
I mean, there's no shocker there. Uh, most of these people have felt that way. That's why nothing has been done on any large scale for years. Uh, Again, you also look at the city of Madison, even though they had significantly uh, less properties that were impacted by lead. Madison did manage to fix their own problem more than a decade ago. Um, I think that some of this is about the city prioritizing what we do. And I know that they say, hey, Michelle, we got a limited pot of money. You know that pension and police and fire eat up a significant portion of our budget. But when people start talking about how can you become more creative and how work gets done, I think that we could have done better. It didn't seem like there was a degree of urgency for a long time among some city leaders, not all, but it just wasn't a sense of urgency. And again, I always say, and if you're not living in one of these houses that's impacted in this way, I'm gonna get to it when I get to it.
Right, right.
And then, just listening to Tyrone talk as we talk about these sprinkler systems, and you brought it up, even though I was thinking it when Tyrone was talking, the lead piece of it all. Like, just think, like, what people that are of a certain, because most people being impacted by this stuff are low income people. Not all. There are plenty of people that make choices and decisions. I want to live in certain areas. I love these old big houses. Like, I love an old house. I do. I like old houses. I would love to have an old house framework with modern house conveniences. Because like the open floor plans on some of these newer modern houses, these houses lack character. The walls is just plain. It ain't no damn fabulous crown molding. There's no interesting architectural features to these houses. They cookie cutter. It looked like you bought them from a kit at, I don't care. I'm talking about, I've seen some bad houses in terms of size, 10,000 square feet. But some of these, I'll probably say like the ones that's in the 5,000, 6,000 square feet range. But they look like cookie cutters. We got a development going up off of Brown Deer Road on the when you first get off the freeway. And I'm like, but when you go in them, it's like, man, this house has no character. just plain old walls. So anyway,
hard to create ambiance.
I love interesting elements in a house. You know, I like turning that corner and like, whoa, this archway is crazy. Look at like I said, look at the molding. Look what I love interesting stuff. So anyway, but my point is, you got people, you getting hit from all sides. You got to worry about lead in your water if you got children, and brushing your teeth and cooking your food. You got to worry about the some of these places got, what's that stuff, the asbestos or whatever that mess in the property or in the building. Then you got, you know, this challenge in terms of the fire sprinklers, but you paying premium money in a lot of these cases. You paying market rate, or even if it's being subsidized, by the time the subsidy kick in plus what you pay, they still pretty much getting close to market rate for some of these houses. And that's my frustration.
Lead in your water at home, and then you go to school and you
lead at school.
To lead. Yeah, it ain't.
Yes, easy. I mean, like people tell folks all the time, because you know, I was looking when Congresswoman Moore posted, you know, what she did about the pending budget bill. You know, it's always some white folks want to jump on talking about some, yeah, you know, welfare queens, and you know, you always want to get over. And I tell people all the time, honey, it ain't nothing easy about being poor. It is nothing easy about dealing with the system, trying to make sure you got money coming in, you got food share. And did y'all see the Republican? And I'm gonna get to some other stuff, but the Republican who is proposing on SNAP benefits that you don't get to claim children over 7 as dependents for the purposes of getting those additional dollars to help feed that child. So you can be under 18, but over 7. And it is a Republican who actually put forward legislation to say that those SNAP benefits, you could get money for the kids 7 and under, but not for the kids 8 and 8 to 18. Wow. Like, well, how are they supposed to eat? Well, to the point of the Republican legislators saying these kids can go get a paper route. They can go to work. You literally had somebody say it's okay for a 2nd or 3rd grader not to necessarily be included in the SNAP application to get food in that house. Like, I just ain't never seen people like this before in my life. Just a whole different brand of crazy. But let me do this because I don't want time to get away from me this morning. My laundry list of stuff that I got, I'm clearly not going to get to it. But y'all, if one more person call me talking about the Trump pardons, and did you see that Trump pardoned Larry Hoover? Now, there's some people like, who is Larry Hoover? Now, I don't even know this man. Well, why is Larry Hoover important? Is he a brother? Like, what's the high? Because he did like 25 pardons yesterday. But the Larry Hoover pardon had the Google search engine on swole as everybody was trying to figure out who this is. So Larry Hoover, and Jermaine, you smiling. Larry Hoover. Does anybody know GD?
It's growth and development.
Not Gangster Disciples. So Larry Hoover is accused of directing the Gangster Disciples even after he went to prison in the 1970s. He received a federal commutation from Donald Trump on yesterday. And there are young brothers, even some older brothers, who heard about the commutation of Larry Hoover's case, federal case. And they started getting anxious, like, is dog about to get out? Man, this is a good thing. Man, Trump might be all right with me.
Yeah.
And I just have to say this, and Jermaine, I saw you lean into the mic, so we gonna open it up. Y'all need to stop being suckers. I wish I could say it in a way that was more gingerly, less, less smack in the face. But right now,
keep it real. Keep it real.
That's what I gotta do.
Keeping it real.
Y'all need to stop falling for the okie doke.
Yeah.
Anybody that's familiar with Larry Hoover's case, akin to Derek Chauvin and Derek Chauvin who killed George Floyd. Elon Musk was pushing Trump to pardon Derek Chauvin, and everybody getting in an uproar. And I'm sitting here saying, Derek Chauvin also got convicted of state charges. It don't matter what Donald Trump do. He gonna spend them 22 and a half years in a state prison in Minnesota for killing George Floyd. Larry Hoover had federal and state charges, state convictions. He got 200 years at the state level. He got convicted for 6 life sentences at the state level. Larry Hoover is going to die in jail. It ain't going to be no compassionate release for him. It ain't going to be none of that. So why would Donald Trump offer a commutation to a man who people believe, head of the gangster disciples, growth development, as Jermaine said, who has no shot in hell of ever getting out of jail? Go ahead.
Okay.
Because I'm going to tell you why he did it, but you go ahead.
Well, I mean, anybody with eyes know why he did it.
No, it's plenty of people with eyes.
Well, yeah. Well, anybody with common sense,
and they seeing the wrong thing.
Yeah. But however, with Hoover been locked up since the 70s, Metropolitan, and even though he was convicted of a murder, you look at people that has been convicted of murders that don't have life sentences. And the reason why they went after him was because to the young black brothers that was in the streets, he was their leader. He was their Martin Luther King. He was their Malcolm X.
Right.
And the white folks saw that. And they saw how he was able to unite hundreds of black men, because the whole GD thing turned into gangster disciples, but it was really meant for neighborhood policing. It was really meant for the brothers to protect the neighborhood. It was the growth and development. Even if you look at some of the signs that they used to use the heart with the wings on it, and that was the love of the nation and spread of the nation. And it was a lot of knowledge that he was giving a lot of young black men with the 5 Ps and all that other stuff, the mind, body, and soul, and that he was empowering young black men. Unfortunately, once they locked him up, it turned into something else, because that's when the drugs came into the community and the guns came into the community. And after that, a lot of people was committing crimes in the name of Larry Hoover, and they saw that, and they saw how powerful he was. That's why they wanted to keep him off the streets, because they knew if they was to let him out, how he can unite the black folks. And I don't agree with him having the life sentence, because he is a powerful figure in the black community.
But let me ask
especially
this
in
question:
Chicago.
do people believe that he killed this 19-year-old?
He probably did.
And so,
but he served his time.
But so what time should be sufficient? And I'm just asking. I'm not being devil's advocate, but I'm just asking.
Right.
So if Larry Hoover killed somebody 19-year-old child, how long should he have stayed in jail?
I mean, if this cat, if the police officer get 20 some years for killing a black man, and Larry Hoover killed the young guy, he made a decision in the early 70s.
But the charges would be different, because Chauvin didn't get, I don't know if Chauvin got convicted of first-degree murder.
He should have.
Second.
I mean,
because number one, well, because you got to think about everything that goes into the intent. I didn't set out to kill you that day. I'm on my job, and this happens as a result.
No, this
of,
man put his hand in his pocket and put his knee and
I
stood
appreciate
there.
that, but I didn't wake up or I didn't go into a situation anticipating I was going to kill you.
So you
Wasn't
think Hoover did?
premeditated or none of the above.
Right. It was
So
not
you think
that.
Hoover did?
I don't know because I don't know the
Right.
circumstances, but I'm saying you can't do an apples to apples comparison depending on if Hoover. Because let me in fact let me just go find the 19-year-old.
There's facts
that
of the
was
case
killed.
that will bear out why he got so much time.
Well, I think that Jermaine, definitely is correct in that people saw how powerful this brother was.
Yeah, man, he was powerful.
And this was a great way, if he did commit this murder, to be able to just get him out the way.
Exactly.
At least that was the hope.
Yeah.
But he actually became more powerful
behind bars because people
Michelle,
started
isn't
visiting
there
him.
like a guideline that judges adhere to?
A sentencing guideline?
Yes.
I mean, yes and no.
Yeah, I mean, because you can't go outside the sentencing guideline.
Why not? Why not? The judge can do whatever he want to do.
Because there are other factors that you factor in. You can only get this for this crime, but then when I look at your history, you might have this in your past, so now I can escalate that time.
And so even so the guy that Hoover killed, young 19-year-old brother by the name of William Young in 1973. Young was a 19-year-old drug dealer who was killed in an alley in Chicago. They said Hoover ordered the killing.
So he didn't even do it.
After Young's name was mentioned in connection with the theft of drugs and money from the gang.
So now you're looking at racketeering, and there's all different kinds of things that they can factor in as added.
Yeah, but they didn't charge him for the
racketeering.
racketeering. They charged him for the murder. They charged him for the murder.
Organized crime.
Yeah, but I mean, stop it though. If we're gonna be real, let's be real. They knew how powerful Larry Hoover was. I mean, even to this day, years later, that we still talking about it.
Andre Howard, who also participated in the murder, and Hoover were both convicted and sentenced to life in prison plus 200 years.
See what I'm saying? So they knew how powerful this man was.
And you got to wonder, like, the plus 200 years, does that end up being, racketeering? Here it is. He was convicted of conspiracy, extortion, money laundering, and continuing a criminal enterprise.
There you go.
Yeah, but stop.
But that was so Hoover was serving 6 life sentences. He was previously sentenced to 150 to 200 years for the 73 murder. Like,
it makes no sense.
However, in 1997, following a 17-year investigation, he then got convicted of all the other stuff. So the stuff that Trump commuted his sentence on was the conspiracy, extortion, money laundering, all that's federal.
So he still got the initial 150 years.
Right. And, and I got to go to
murder.
But when Kanye West was really running tight with Trump, Kanye West was working on trying to get this done for Hoover.
Yeah.
But again, while people can say whatever they want to, it's all still crazy because on the state charges, Hoover's not eligible for parole until 2062. He's 74 years old right now. He'll be 111. He would be 111 when he could even be eligible.
Could the governor pardon him?
Man,
I mean, they wanted to, but they're not going to.
I just think, again, the white folks looked at this man as being Martin Luther and Malcolm X.
It does not make sense that you got that kind of time for a
man.
single murder.
Come on.
People commit murders on that scale. I mean, it was a road in. Just like the mobsters who go to jail for taxes instead of the murders that they believe they committed or the drugs they ran.
Right.
And then once we get our way in the door, we get ready to stack it so we can just take you out of here.
Get you up out the way.
Let me take a break. Phone lines is lit up. We'll talk about it. But what I do need is for young black men and old black men not to be running around talking about Donald Trump is y'all damn friend because of this commutation. Because again, let's not look at the brothers he's helping in jail. Look at the people look at the free people. Look at the free people. Look at how he handling South Africa. Ask, where the hell is Tim Scott? Like, where's Waldo? Where's Tim Scott? It ain't nobody black hardly in his cabinet. I ain't talking about what he do for folks that's in jail. I'm talking about what he do for everybody else too. Like, y'all need to stop falling for the okie doke. I'll be right back.
back to Say Something Real with Michelle Bryant on WNOV.
All right, family. So just taking a second, talking about one of the more controversial pardons that Donald Trump put into place for Larry Hoover, who was one of the founding members of the Gangster Disciples, a merger between two rival, groups, the Supreme Gangsters, Black Disciples. It's a storied history. One of the things me and Jermaine discussing during the break. Then you got all these tentacles where you got all these subgroups, subdivisions underneath the broader umbrella and what that looks like. But my thing is, whatever the story is, the history is of this man and the organizations, I just need people to understand that Donald Trump does not give a damn about Larry Hoover. This is literally about furthering whatever basis support that he can conjure up among certain folks in the Black community. And, even though it won't be a vote for him again, but a vote against Democrats, a vote for possibly other Republicans, they are laying seeds and sprinkling fertilizer to be able to shift the way Black folks think about who got their best interest at heart. Let me be clear. We get taken advantage of by everybody, Democrats and Republicans, independents alike, everybody. I want to say that clearly. But make no mistake, this is completely being done to curry favor. Not because, this man was wrongly convicted. I believe it's the right thing to do. He deserved another chance. None of that. It is doing what it was intended to do, to get a segment of our community, particularly young Black men and even some older brothers. Trump ain't so bad. And we got 3 more years of putting up with policies from this dude where he begins to get some passes. But while we celebrating this basically symbolic victory, because Larry Hoover's never getting out of jail. He's going to die in prison, whether he rightfully should or shouldn't. That's the reality. While while you got brothers that are celebrating that, and maybe even some sisters, I need you to ask this same guy, in terms of Trump, what is he doing to HBCUs? What is he doing to Black education and Black history in public schools? What is he doing to your mamas or grandmama's Social Security? What is he doing to Affordable Care Act and healthcare for people? Like, who in the cabinet looks like him? I mean, looks like us, that's sitting around him in terms of power. Look at how Black military generals getting ousted for unqualified white men to come and fill these spaces, and then you out here putting military attack plans on Signal, on a social media app. Like, you can't look at this one thing and get all like, oh yeah, Trump ain't bad. Because see, it's some Black folks gonna let y'all know we not riding with this dude. I don't care who he pardoned or who sentence he commutes. Jermaine was just showing me a concert that Soulja Boy did. Soulja Boy, rapper who comes out for Donald Trump. You got like 30 people at your concert, at your portion of it, in an arena.
That's bad, man.
And
That's
Snoop think he untouchable, and so does Nelly.
Yeah.
When I tell you, I got Nelly saved in my car. The way my vehicle is, I can put a CD in and record that whole CD to my permanent
hard drive.
Yeah, hard drive in my Jeep. And so Nellyville was one of the first CDs I saved because I love Nelly. Man, It came, I hit my faves and it just run my playlist. That mess came on. I almost wrecked that damn Jeep trying to hurry up and turn Nelly off. And later got home so I could delete that mess because I'm not messing with him no more. You trying to act like it ain't no big deal. I'm just respecting the presidency. Stop playing with me, boy. You following $1 and access. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening? Hello?
Hey, Michelle, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing this morning?
This is Dion. How you doing? You
I'm
know
good.
who I am.
Hey, D.
But all I wanted to say was, like I'm not a Donald Trump fan, and I understand what you're saying about Mr. Hoover, but it was more than just that, as far as with the chairman, because they illegally capped badges on the visitor badges when they was going to visit him in Stateville. And then not only that, you know what I'm saying? Like, another reason why the federal government wanted, because in 1995, I used to be, I'm no longer an active member, but I'm from Chicago, you understand? So in 1995, he had what they call, Century Vote 21, where he was trying to unilaterally gather all the organizations together, and we used our vote. You understand what I'm saying? So when they seen that, Richard M. Daley and other people seen that, they said, this man is too powerful. You understand what I'm saying? And think about it. He could gravitate all the outstanding members and use it. And I'm talking about all the organizations with Vice Lord, Stones, Folk on the Hustlers, everybody, and use their vote. That was like using that as a weapon against them. They won for that. So they said, we got to take this man away, because even in Stateville, he still had his tentacles, was able to touch the street. So it was a little bit more of a backstory to that, but it's definitely, and the hard part, because he was going to get paroled eventually from the state. Now, I don't know with everything that's going on now, the more charges they added on, but the Fed was the one that was holding him back. You understand what I'm saying? So by that federal charge gone now. So hopefully, the man's 74 years old. I mean, God, I'll be watching documentaries on people like in Angola prison. Man, they've been men up in there since they was 16 years old, 80 years old. Like, how much time do you want from somebody? Eventually, I feel, life is life. People look at it like that. But when a person is old and feeble and senile, you know what I'm saying? Like, what more could they do? You know what I'm saying, out here? And another thing, now, like I said, I'm not for Trump. But he was also talking about allowing nonviolent felons to own firearms, which I'm a felon, nonviolent. I committed my crime in 2025. You already know, because I've been begging you for a recommendation letter for years, but we ain't gonna get into that. But that's another thing. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing that I mean, but everything else, he's effery. But I just wanted to call in about that, though. I'm always listening to you always get a good morning, beautiful text from me, so I'm gonna let you go, and it's always a pleasure listening to you. And I'm gonna hang up right now. Okay.
Hey, but that brother was right.
Yeah, goodbye. Don't try to smack me and then somebody. Right. But good morning. Bye, Dion. I'm waiting on my
but
letter.
He was right, though. He because for the simple fact that, again, they saw that he was getting ready to unite and bring the blacks together. And even now, if you listen to some of the white people that say that they scared that the whites is going to become the minority, and that's what they was trying to keep from happening back then, when they saw how powerful Hoover was to actually bring the streets together. If you can get the streets all in one circle to rally behind politics.
Yeah, because that whole piece with Century 21 was about felon disenfranchisement. Getting people, and that's what we saw down in Florida with them getting, law changed so that formerly convicted individuals could get their rights to vote back. And then they get it successfully done, only for Republicans to come up and say, not so fast. You got to now, we passing a law, emergency middle of the night, that says you got to pay all fines and fees associated with your conviction before you can actually vote. So I'm not arguing any of the merits of these cases. I understand, what this brother means to a lot of people in the community. I understand, and we've seen it with Malcolm, we've seen it with Martin, we've seen it with Farrakhan. People going, they tried to do it with Muhammad Ali. when he refused to go to Vietnam. We've seen whenever black men seem to be too powerful, too influential, particularly if it's about unity and, black pride and black self-respect and black fight, for their existence, people are gonna figure out how to shut them down.
So didn't they do that to the Black Panther dude?
What Huey, Fred Hampton.
Yeah, Fred, yeah.
So I mean, I get it. That's not my point this morning. My point is why Trump did it. That's what I need people to keep in front of them. Why Trump did it. Because even though Dion said, the federal issue, the federal sentence was the big hurdle, he got more time at the state level than he got at the federal level.
Well, that was just a whole nother hurdle that they put in front of him.
It was a hurdle, true enough, but let's be clear. I'm just, y'all, he wasn't never getting out at the state level. That same energy that they used to, over penalize him, if you will, for the murder of this, ordering a murder, because to the point, he didn't kill anybody himself personally, but let's just say he ordered this murder. They had already laid in foundation that this man was not getting out. He's still powerful to this day on so many levels, even if it's in memory only. Some people like, he done lost some of his juice. I don't know. But look at the reaction that it spurred. And look at how many people can kick back knowledge of the beginnings and, what it meant and the whole 9 yards. I am bringing it up strictly from the perspective, I need bros to understand why this was done. It was not done to help Hoover. It was not done to help our community. It was done to get people to soften on Trump, to be less responsive to Democrats and other groups, and to give passes because he looked out for my guy. He helped my man. I just need us to be smart about why this stuff is being done. Let me take a break. Callers, I see y'all. If you can hold, you can be first up as soon as I get back. But y'all, I'm not playing. I need you to dig below the surface. Moves. This man ain't here for us. He's not here to help us. He's not here to help Hoover. This is a tactic. The man said folks playing chess and we playing checkers. Hell, we ain't even playing. We're on the sidelines watching. We ain't even playing. Because, Kanye, like, all the lobbying you want. What else did you lobby? All folks, we gotta get Hoover out. What else did you lobby for? You gonna meet me at the school board meeting? You gonna meet me down at the common council meeting? You gonna meet me at the state house? What else did you lobby for? I'll be right.
I'm Jamie Jackson. A new wealth report is revealing just how rich America is and will grow fastest. According to the 2025 USA Wealth Report from HOOVER, the U.S. now holds 34% of all global liquid wealth. It also holds 37% of millionaires, as well as 6 million people. The U.S. still tops the list with 380,000 millionaires, followed by Los Angeles, other top cities, Chicago, Houston, Dallas, and
I'm enjoying it. Eager for testimony will continue today of the Maxwell Anderson murder trial. He is accused of killing and dismembering Johnny Robinson last year after a first date. On Wednesday, opening statements were made and the first witnesses took to the stand. So far, there is no testimony from other witnesses. A proposed hotel in the Air District is one 18th enforcement. The Moxie Hotel is being spearheaded by Bucks, along with NCG Hospitality. After much debate and delay on the project's size and scope, the project nearly got an endorsement from the city's Facility Neighborhood and Development Committee. The Common Council will take up this matter next week. Well, tonight is the finals for the 100th National Spelling Bee, and one Wisconsin speller nearly made it to the finals. Ethan Roberts is a seventh grader at Berlin High School and tied for 10th place. You want to say congratulations to him on his accomplishment. The finals air tonight at 7 on Iron. The 80th U.S. Women's Open Championship is now underway at Miracle Golf Course. The first golfers teed off at 6:45 this morning. So this is the first time the U.S. Women's Open Championship will be held at Miracle, and the third time it is being played right here in Wisconsin. For these stories and more, head to TFP4.com.
Here's a look at your updated forecast. For today, with partial sunshine at times, a chance for some scattered showers and storms later today, with highs on low to mid 60s. For tonight, any lingering showers and thundershowers wrapping up early on low 52. Friday, dry and partly sunny start to the day. Some more active showers and storms developing up to 72. Lots of sun Saturday, 63. I'm meteorologist Michael Carroll on AM 860. The Voice. It seems like the cost of everything is going up, so it's nice to say no you can, especially for something you love to eat every day. Before I go grocery shopping, I print out a coupon for $1 off in-country College Village Market Toasted bread crumb. My favorite is Dakota Salad Swamp Bread. My wife's breakfast go-to is the Toasted Village Health English Muffin. We can save $1 on each. Go to countryhealthbreads.com/coupons and print 1 or 2 out before your next shopping trip. And don't forget, Country Health Village Health and Artisan Health Bread products are baked locally and delivered fresh. They don't run you a few all and you stop with Monthly from in-person Wednesdays for topics and subjects that impact and don't forget about every Friday, free for Friday, out to hey, the vote. With your host, Miss Bryant.
All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Got a caller that held through the break, so let's get them in. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey, Michelle, this is Angela.
Hey, Angela.
Listen. I heard the gentleman just saying about Trump letting felons get pistols and guns. I'm a felon. You know what I'm saying? But I don't roll like that. You know, I'm not going to do that because he's giving us permission. I can get one without him even letting us get permission to get one, you know, because I'm from the streets and I know how to maneuver to do stuff like that. But even though I'm not down with that, I'm not no Trump fan at all. What he's doing is just like ridiculous, and they do need to wake up. He ain't gonna do nothing for Hoover, but he got them white folks out the Christies for tax invasion. They daughter so happy they coming home. You know, man, don't fall for that dude, cause he's full of it.
Absolutely.
He ain't down with us at all.
Nope.
You
Not
know,
at
and
all.
those that got him in office and they think that they gonna get what they got coming through him, y'all better wake up, open your eyes, get the sleep up out of him. Cause he ain't about y'all. He ain't about nobody but himself and his so-called family.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that call. Got another
Yep.
caller on the line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Hey, it sounds like smoke and mirrors to me, Michelle.
That's all it is, bruh.
Because
That's all it is.
if you can count on people who get a lot of their information from social media and who focus on baby oil when it comes to another black man getting locked up and not having an opportunity for bail like he would if he was white, even if he's guilty of some of the things that they're saying. And then later in his trial is a good example. It turns out that one of the main accusers was saying that she was being forced to do certain things and she was compliant so far. And, you know, I think bail might, you know, my take on it is that we are always going to suffer more for committing the same crime. And it takes me back to like looking at a comparison of, if you've ever seen this film, Gangs of New York. Now, these were white gangs when New York was being formed in the 1800s, was growing in the 1800s, who were attempting to take political power. And so when you think about these guys were probably in their 20s and 30s, and Larry Hoover admits he was a teenager, a young teen, when he came up with a lot of the concepts that he had that would have probably evolved further, which would have protected his organization and protected his freedom in a way that, like we compare him to Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, who were, in my opinion, more educated and leading a different type of movement of positivity, because there was drugs being sold in gangs in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and these are gangs of all races. So even if you say, I'm starting this organization to protect our neighborhood, but I think he's even said in the end it does severe harm to the neighborhood, to the community, and hundreds of thousands of young people are incarcerated and trapped in prison. I think he even regrets that. And to me, that's part of your brain not being developed when you're a teenager. And so I think if he'd have gotten to be older when starting this organization before it grew out of hand and out of his control, then maybe you would have a different type of movement. But this is the kind of thing that happens all over the world when oppressed people are trying to fight back and to finance a revolution.
All right. Thank you, bro. I appreciate those comments. I mean, like I said, it's a lot to think about. I just, at the core of it, I need people to understand what these moves are about. It is about divide and conquer. It is about weakening what they perceive to be certain voting blocks. You know, I just looked at somebody text me and they said, hey, Michelle, you know, what about NBA Youngboy, the rapper that Trump, you know, gave a pardon to? So let me be clear. NBA Youngboy was not in jail currently. He was actually, he finished up his jail term in March. And he was, I think he was at like a halfway house or, you know, something like that, but he wasn't in jail. He was serving out a 23-month sentence, and he had 5 years of probation and a $200,000 fine that was still hanging over him because he was a felon convicted of having possession of firearms, and it was 3 different firearms. And, some of which he used for a video he was making, and then others he had in possession at his house. And, I want to thank Donald Trump. It opens the door to a future I've worked hard for, and I'm fully prepared to step into this. And like on one hand, like, you know what, bro, I ain't mad that you get a chance to do this again, but you Negroes getting passes on taking responsibility for dumb stuff that y'all did too. That irritates me too, because this wasn't the first time this cat had been in trouble. Like, these people done told you don't do this, and you gonna make a video with the firearms? Now I'm ready to step into my future, my manhood, and be a daddy. Negro, what was you doing when you picked up the gun to make the video? And you knew you wasn't supposed to have it. You gonna make a tape, a movie, and put it out. Like, all of that irritates me. He used to run a prescription drug ring. Like, I'm just saying, man, on some level, like, all of this is nonsense. The same way the Chrisleys ain't got no business walking around, a lot of these other people don't have no business having these sentences commuted or pardoned. You usually see people saying, I have put in work. I have put in years. I have taken these courses. I have done these things. This is my life since I last got in trouble. It has been exemplary. I'm trying to get back my voting rights, and I can get that back if I get a pardon. I'm trying to blah, blah, blah. You're not seeing that. You're not seeing it. The Chrisleys ain't did nothing to atone for the crap that they did. Donald Trump let these people out purely on they're good Americans. They didn't deserve that. They're good Americans. Somebody said, but he racist, bro. Give God glory and shout out to the Hoover family who finally got the justice in their favor. I did not create this post to argue with Democrats. If y'all feel some type of way, keep it moving. Love y'all. But they said, but he racist, huh? Hell yeah, he racist. You dummy. Yeah, he racist. Yeah, but this is a post that somebody put out that was just shared with me, where a young black man is questioning that people call Donald Trump a racist. He racist, huh? But he did this for Hoover, but he racist, huh? That's the okie doke. That's the setup. Yeah. That's what he wants you to do. Yeah. So you, and again, because you're underinformed, ill-informed, not informed. I don't want to say dumb, but like dumb is in the back of my head. You don't have the ability to read your cell phone. I don't need you to open the Journal Sentinel, the New York Times. I don't need you to open no printed publication. Just pick up your phone and say, Siri, name policies that Donald Trump have implemented that have harmed the black community. Your phone gonna blow up. That's all you gotta do. You ain't gotta say nothing else. What is wrong with you? I'm serious. You don't have to say nothing else.
Why your phone jump off your head?
Because it did. Because the phone got hot as soon as I said it. The phone got hot. Like, come on, fam. But see this, and this what. Ooh. That's why some of you Negroes need to just have stayed in school. And I'm talking about like was really learning, not just did enough to graduate. But these people playing y'all. He ain't racist, huh? Hey, bruh, did you miss the part where he is behind and working with them to dismantle Black history being taught in public schools? You missed that? Did you not see how he handled the South African president and gave white people the ability to skip the line? They wasn't even trying to come here. He just got done telling Harvard, all y'all Chinese students' visas is getting revoked. And now we're gonna be looking at any professors from China that got these visas over here teaching. We get ready to clear Harvard out. Like, you silly because you think he did something that in no way is gonna release Larry Hoover. He ain't racist, huh? You ain't smart either, huh? That's my response back. Bruh, you don't read either, huh? You this is what I knew was gonna happen. And people partying like he just rose Tupac from the dead. Like, y'all Negroes need to stop it. But see, this is why you gotta educate people. That's why you gotta educate people. Let me go to the phone line. Hey, caller, what's happening?
Good morning.
No,
I heard you talking about the Hoover pardon. I couldn't. Got kicked out of you. Well, you know, some things I wouldn't even touch. You know, you got a lot of young, foolish people. I wouldn't even touch some stuff. I mean, if the man comes through on federal, and this is Kanye West doing, you know, that's Kanye West homeboy, you know, and he's just been excited to try to get this dude pardoned forever. But you were talking about the food stamps as well. Now I'll tell you something about the food stamps. We're gonna have to bear a little bit because they have to get. There's a lot of people in this country that are getting overpaid food stamps now that ain't even supposed to be here. But the good thing about it is that we get to apply again. If we get jammed up and they cut ours, we get to go down with the proper documents and get back on sort of like a.
What does that have to do with them limiting the age?
I can't hear you.
They are trying to limit the age of dependence.
I get that, but we're not. Well, listen.
So how does that help us?
The fat out. I'm trying to tell you, that's to cut the fat out. Me and your people gonna be able to go back and redo that with the proper paperwork.
That don't have nothing to do with age. It doesn't matter. You got the proper paperwork to show that they ate. When they're saying we're trying to implement rules that an 8 to 18-year-old may not be counted the same way as a dependent.
I gotta go.
I know you do. I know you do. Talk to you later. Peace. Call. Yeah. Go on. Bye. Goodbye. I mean, you calling here like you about to put us up on. What's up, Mr. Pierce? You about to put us up on game. Yeah, now that's, you know, starting to play for the overlay.
Gotta go right now.
You know, we get to reapply. They gonna weed out the Mexicans who wrong, because you know he wanted to say Mexican so bad he ain't say it, but he wanted to say it. The illegals that's getting the snap.
They're not getting the snap.
Why, Keith? Why?
Well, because the eligibility criteria is so stringent when you try to apply that it would be very difficult. And I think they're still on 6-month reviews. So it ain't, it's a lark. I would suggest that go down to Tonya. I don't know what days of the week they're there. One of the Islamic groups right there on Tonya does it. Yeah. They do a food giveaway.
Yeah, sure do.
Something we don't talk about a lot is the level of food insecurity we're dealing with. And how
91st, that little thrift store, they do one in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see people in line waiting.
And they said that the average SNAP recipient will run out of SNAP benefits 8 days before the next benefit comes.
Right.
And so people are trying to make it happen. It is easy because people want to believe that people on food stamps. Here's the other piece of it. The piece about food stamps, and I know you have abuse of the EBT card by some vendors. At some point, it has to be spent on food.
Yeah.
Who does that benefit? It benefits grocers. Yeah. It benefits farmers.
Yeah.
That's why it's under the Department of Agriculture. You know, WIC is under the Department of Agriculture. These are food supplemental programs, and Republicans have always pushed back on it. It's a way that you can go in and save. It's just like all the little things they're doing in that 1,100-page bill. And I guess now, because it's in the Senate, because they did a whole lot late night, you know, that people, so people wouldn't know what they're actually voting on. Yeah. And so now in the Senate, they're going through and they're coming out like, oh, did you know this was in here? Did you know that was in here?
Even Trump just said yesterday, though, there are some things in the bill I don't like. It's your bill.
And you should have said that before
he
the House
literally
voted
just
on
said
it.
that yesterday. There are
Right.
things in the bill I don't like.
He knew it was.
We're
in
gonna
there.
have to make some changes.
He knew it was in there, but it's because
He
of
didn't
the.
know it was in there.
No,
Man, I think
Most
I think it's that
congressmen didn't know
backlash.
what was in there.
Well,
the
I
cre-
mean, so
yeah.
you saying Trump
Stat-
didn't know what
no,
was
he
in it?
didn't.
And
He
it
didn't
was
know.
No,
but it's Trump
because you don't
big
write.
beautiful
He
bill,
didn't,
ain't
he
it?
didn't, he didn't write it himself.
You don't
No,
write it.
but I'm saying
Just like he didn't write Project 2025, and most of the stuff you doing was in
Right
Project
off the plate.
2025.
I get it, but I'm saying I'm pretty sure somebody briefed him about the Project
I'm
2025.
pretty sure he wasn't paying attention.
that part.
They
You
talk
know,
about
and-
his
and in
national
this case-
security briefings.
And in
He
this
don't
case,
pay
he didn't get
attention.
briefed on everything.
No.
That thing is so comprehensive and touches so many facets of life. No, he
They
didn't.
say
get
he has
briefed
a
on all
very
that.
short attention span.
Well, yeah, I can believe that because he act like a kid. But it's to the point that you got Elon Musk even saying he don't like what's in the bill, and him and Trump is
Yeah,
beefing.
because some of that might impact his bottom line.
Yeah.
It is going to. I mean, all of it is just, it's a game. And the bad part is we're going to be on the losing end of it. We don't understand the rules. We don't understand how it's played. We don't understand how we're used as pawns in these games. People think somebody's showing up for us and they really showing up to hurt us. Again, to the, and just to see that message or that post that this person made, he ain't racist, huh? You got a young black man that's actually trying to challenge other people about the veracity of Donald Trump's virtue when it comes to black folks. He ain't racist, huh?
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah, that part.
Thank you, Lord.
I mean, to which Lord are you
I
thinking?
mean, it's so sad, man. But I saw people. Phone was on
Yeah,
12
but I told you.
yesterday.
I was
told you.
listening to Tavis Smiley last night,
Okay.
and he said one of his guests had pointed something out. They said, you know what? We spent so much time talking about that 10%, 15% black people that voted for Donald Trump. When the reality is close to 85 to 90% of black folks who voted didn't vote for Donald Trump. And so we will go in, and then when you break it down, there were more black men. But when you look at it, still the overwhelming majority of black people did not vote for Donald Trump.
But the thing, though, that I think and why this becomes something that folks need to pay attention to or are paying attention to is because black voters' demographics skew older. And you're talking about a new crop of young people that are coming up that are the next set of voters. I'm not talking about people that are involved in the justice system, may have federal convictions, got all this drama that may not really be voting, but they're in households with younger black children. And I have younger black boys, 15, 14, 13, who are hearing older black young men in their household now make it seem like Trump is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Some of these Republican policies are acceptable. So it's not just about the immediate damage.
We've always had black people who've been supportive of Republican policies.
Yeah, but you still want to pay attention to the chipping away of those numbers. Because when you talk about a vote margin in the state of Wisconsin of only 21,000 votes.
But I'm listening to you all.
And if you get more people to show up who would have either stayed out of the fray or voted differently, that margin is so small, we shift an election.
This is a position I've just.
But Keith, isn't failure to vote?
It could be a vote
where that whole piece would.
But if we're talking about where most black people voted, we had a strong turnout. White people decided that Donald Trump is president. Put it clearly where it should be.
But the other thing, though, that also happened is young white men who had traditionally not voted,
voted for Donald Trump,
came out to vote for Trump.
Why is that surprising?
I'm just saying these be so close. I don't know that we get to kind of poo-poo or take for granted that steady, slowly chipping away at or erosion of support, that is shifting to Trump. And like I said, we impacted the next generation of voters.
And
it's not just today.
If you look at just purely from a pure political science perspective, in some ways that's good. This whole idea, we say it all the time, black folks are not a monolith. Black folks are not a monolith. And though it might be someone who many of us, it's anathema to everything that we stand for. I mean, I'm talking about 10%. I'm not, I mean, 90%. So, I mean, it's always going to be. I know George Bush.
Hey, I hate people raise your
I hate people on Thursdays.
I even got my hand up.
Are you upset yet?
All right. So, thank y'all. I appreciate it, family. Y'all have a safe weekend. Talk to y'all next week.